In the heart of Lagos, where the Atlantic waves kiss the shores of Victoria Island, there lived a man whose wealth could buy kingdoms, but whose heart carried an emptiness that no amount of money could fill. Chief Adebayo Olanrewaju was his name, a name that made grown men tremble and caused whispers in every marketplace from Ikeja to Lekki. At 73 years old, the chief had everything except the one thing that mattered most in our culture, the one thing that would carry his name beyond the grave, a son. Chief Adebayo's mansion stood like a golden monument on Banana Island, with gates so high they seemed to touch the clouds and guards who watched every corner like hawks protecting their nest. Inside those walls lived a man tortured by his own success, haunted by the faces of his 3 daughters who had given him nothing but disappointment. He had married 5 wives over the decades, each one failing to deliver the male heir he desperately craved. The chief's youngest wife had left him just 2 months ago, taking with her a generous settlement and leaving behind another daughter, his 8th girl child. The doctors had told him his time was running out. His heart was weak, his body failing, and the empire he had built with his bare hands from the streets of Mushin would crumble without a son to inherit it. Every night, the chief would stand on his balcony overlooking the lagoon, watching the city lights flicker like dying stars, wondering if his legacy would die with him. His competitors were already circling like vultures, waiting for news of his death so they could tear apart his businesses, his properties, his life's work. But Chief Adebayo was not a man who accepted defeat easily. He had clawed his way from poverty to prosperity, had survived the Civil War, had outwitted politicians and business rivals for 5 decades. If conventional methods had failed him, then he would seek unconventional solutions. And that is where our story truly begins, in the shadowy world where desperate men make dangerous bargains. On a humid Tuesday evening, when the Lagos traffic had finally settled and the street hawkers had retreated to their homes, the chief's driver took him deep into the mainland, far from the glittering towers of the island. They drove through Yaba, past the university, into neighborhoods where the streets had no names and the buildings leaned against each other like drunken friends. Finally, they stopped at a compound where the smell of incense and something darker hung thick in the air. The herbalist who lived there was known only as Baba Mysterious, a name that suited him perfectly. He was ancient beyond measure, with eyes that seemed to see through flesh and bone into the very soul of a person. When Chief Adebayo entered his shrine, the old man smiled as if he had been expecting him, as if he knew every secret the chief had ever kept, every sin he had ever committed. Before you subscribe to this channel, let me tell you that what you are about to hear will shake you to your very core. Hit that subscribe button now, because this story gets darker with every passing minute, and you will not want to miss a single detail. Baba Mysterious did not waste time with pleasantries. He told the chief that his problem was not medical but spiritual, that his ancestors were angry because of something his grandfather had done, something that had cursed the male lineage of their family. But there was a solution, a ritual that would guarantee him a son, but it would require something precious, something irreplaceable. The chief, desperate and dying, agreed without hesitation. He would pay any price, make any sacrifice. The ritual was scheduled for the next full moon. But Baba Mysterious gave the chief specific instructions that seemed strange, almost impossible. He needed to find a young woman, not just any woman, but one who was pure of heart, who had never known greed, who carried within her a spirit strong enough to break the family curse. She had to come to him willingly, had to agree to carry his child without knowing the dark secrets that surrounded the arrangement. And most importantly, she had to be a woman of Yoruba descent, connected to the earth and the ancestors in ways that city girls had forgotten. Chief Adebayo returned to his mansion that night with his mind racing. Where would he find such a woman in modern Lagos, where everyone had a price, where innocence had been sold long ago for the promise of a better life? He lay awake for 3 nights, his chest pounding with anxiety and something else, perhaps fear of what he was about to unleash. Then fate, or something darker than fate, provided an answer. Her name was Amara, and she worked as a cleaner in one of the chief's office buildings in Marina. She was 23 years old, fresh from a small village in Osun State, where her parents were poor farmers who could barely afford to feed their 6 children. Amara had come to Lagos with dreams of becoming a nurse, of sending money back home, of lifting her family out of the poverty that had trapped them for generations. She lived in a single room in Ajagunal with 4 other girls, waking up at 4 every morning to catch the first bus to the island. The chief's personal assistant had noticed her first. There was something different about Amara, something that set her apart from the other cleaners who rushed through their work with dead eyes and tired spirits. Amara sang while she worked, old Yoruba songs her grandmother had taught her, songs about the river goddess and the spirits of the forest. She greeted everyone with genuine warmth, shared her small lunch with the security guards, and never complained even when the other cleaners gossiped about her threadbare clothes and village manners. When the assistant mentioned her to Chief Adebayo, describing her character and her background, the chief knew immediately that he had found his answer. But he also knew that approaching her directly would raise suspicions, would scare her away. So he devised a plan, a carefully constructed web of half-truths and attractive lies that would draw her in without revealing his true intentions. If you are watching this and your heart is already racing, go ahead and hit that like button because this story is about to take a turn that nobody could predict. Comment below if you think Amara should trust the chief or run as far away as possible. The chief arranged for a promotion. Suddenly, Amara found herself called into the main office, offered a position as a personal assistant to one of the company's managers, with a salary that was 5 times what she earned as a cleaner. She could not believe her fortune. She wept with joy, called her mother in the village, promised to send money home immediately. The manager who hired her seemed kind, professional, asking only that she work hard and represent the company well. What Amara did not know was that this manager worked directly for Chief Adebayo, that every conversation was reported back to the chief, that her entire life was now being observed and evaluated. For 3 months, they watched her, tested her character in small ways. They left money on desks to see if she would steal. They created conflicts to see if she would lie or manipulate. They introduced her to wealthy young men to see if she would abandon her morals for material comfort. But Amara passed every test, remained true to herself, remained the innocent village girl who still believed in honesty and hard work. Finally, Chief Adebayo made his move. He arranged a company event, a celebration for the staff, held at one of his hotels in Lekki. Amara attended, wearing her best dress, which was still modest compared to what the other women wore, feeling out of place among the wealthy executives and their glamorous companions. That was when the chief approached her, introducing himself casually as if he were just another guest, as if his name did not carry the weight of an empire. They talked for hours that night, and the chief was charming in ways that surprised even himself. He asked about her village, her family, her dreams. He listened as she spoke about her desire to become a nurse, to build a clinic in her village where her mother could receive proper medical care. He watched her eyes light up when she described the small farm where she grew up, the river where she used to fetch water, the festivals where the whole community would dance under the moon. And for the first time in decades, Chief Adebayo felt something that resembled genuine human connection. But beneath his charming smile and attentive questions, his mind was calculating, planning, weaving the trap that would ensnare this innocent girl into his dark scheme. He knew exactly what he was going to do, and the knowledge of it should have filled him with shame, but instead, he felt only the fierce determination of a man fighting for his survival, for his legacy, for everything he had built. 2 weeks after that first meeting, Chief Adebayo invited Amara to lunch at a private restaurant. He told her he was impressed by her work ethic, that he saw potential in her, that he wanted to personally mentor her career. Amara was overwhelmed by the attention from such a powerful man. She accepted his invitation, never suspecting that she was walking deeper into a carefully constructed trap. Over the next month, the chief became a regular presence in her life, always maintaining a respectful distance, never crossing any inappropriate boundaries. He gave her books to read, advised her on investment and financial planning, even offered to pay for her nursing school tuition. Amara began to see him as a father figure, a benefactor sent by God to lift her out of poverty. She trusted him completely, never noticing the way his eyes would sometimes grow dark and calculating when he thought she was not looking, never sensing the sinister purpose behind his extraordinary generosity. Drop a comment right now if you think you know where this story is heading, because I promise you, you have no idea what is coming next. Subscribe to this channel if you have not already done so, because part 2 of this story will reveal secrets that will leave you speechless. Then came the night that changed everything, the night when Chief Adebayo finally revealed his true intentions, though not in the way Amara would have expected, and not with the complete truth that would have sent her running for her life. They were having dinner at his mansion, just the two of them in a dining room that could seat 30 people, surrounded by artwork worth millions and silence that felt heavy with unspoken words. The chief began slowly, carefully, telling Amara about his dying wish, his desperate need for a son, his failed marriages, and his fading health. He spoke with such raw emotion that tears filled Amara's eyes, her kind heart breaking for this powerful man who seemed so vulnerable in that moment. Then he made his proposal, the one that Baba Mysterious had instructed him to make, the one that would seal both their fates. He offered her 50 million naira, an amount of money that Amara could not even fully comprehend, to carry his child, to give him the son that his wives had failed to provide. He promised that she would receive the best medical care, that she would live in comfort during the pregnancy, that after the birth she could return to her normal life with enough money to transform not just her future, but the future of her entire family, her entire village. He painted a picture of nobility and mutual benefit, of a transaction that would save his legacy and elevate her family from generations of poverty. What he did not tell her was about the ritual, about Baba Mysterious, about the dark spiritual forces that would be involved in this pregnancy, about the price that might be extracted not just from him but from her, from the child, from everyone connected to this cursed bloodline. Amara sat in stunned silence, her mind reeling, her heart torn between the opportunity of a lifetime and the voice of her grandmother echoing in her memory, warning her that some bargains were too good to be true, that some doors once opened could never be closed. The chief watched her internal struggle with the patience of a hunter who knows his trap has been set perfectly, who knows that poverty and desperation make people do things they would never otherwise consider. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Amara spoke. Her voice was barely a whisper when she said those 3 words that would seal her fate, that would set in motion events darker and more terrible than anyone could possibly imagine. She said yes. She agreed to carry Chief Adebayo's child, to give him the son he so desperately desired, never knowing that she had just signed a contract not with a dying old man, but with forces that existed long before Lagos was built, long before Nigeria was named. Forces that demanded payment in ways that no amount of money could ever satisfy. As she left the mansion that night, with the chief's promise of 50 million naira ringing in her ears and a legal contract clutched in her trembling hands, dark clouds gathered over Lagos and somewhere deep in the mainland. In a shrine that smelled of incense and ancient power, Baba Mysterious smiled and began preparing for the ritual that would bring Chief Adebayo his son, and bring Amara face to face with a darkness she never knew existed. But what neither of them knew, what neither of them could possibly have predicted, was that this child, this son who was about to be conceived through ancient rituals and desperate bargains, would be born with something inside him. Something that was neither fully human nor fully spirit, something that would grow stronger with each passing day, something that would eventually demand a reckoning that would shake Lagos to its very foundations. The full moon was approaching, and with it, the ritual that would change everything, the ritual that would answer Chief Adebayo's prayers while simultaneously unleashing a curse that would make his previous sufferings seem like child's play. A curse that would reach far beyond him to touch everyone connected to this unholy bargain, including the innocent girl from Osun State who thought she was just helping a dying old man fulfill his final wish.